Hello everybody, Comic Order 410 here. I hit up a sale at a local shop on New Year's Day, and this past weekend I also attended the small dealers only convention they do here locally every other month. Found some really great deals and found some nice stuff in the discount bins as well. Starting off, I could not believe these next three books were in a $3 bin. This is the first Dawn Convention sketchbook that Joseph Michael Linsner did. I have a lot of his convention sketchbooks because he usually does the shows near me on the East Coast, but I did not have this one. I believe this is from 2002, but I could be wrong. But hopefully I'll get this signed this year. Got my hands on these two She tour books, and I couldn't believe they were in the discount bin because they're remarked and sketched in color by Billy Tucci. This is the She Year of the Serpent tour book with a beautiful sketch on it. And I also got the She Year of the Dragon tour book, again, sketched in color and remarked by Billy Tucci from San Diego Comic-Con. This next book was actually just a thoughtful Christmas gift from my friend Buzz Hassan, co-creator of The Living Corpse. And Buzz and myself are both Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fans. We actually waited in line together this past year to meet Kevin Eastman, which was a great experience. Kevin Eastman's a very, very nice person. But Buzz knows I'm a big fan of the Turtles, so he took this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Universe #1 blank, did this great Raphael sketch on it, inked it and colored it, and gave it to me out of the kindness of his heart for Christmas. So thank you so much for that, Buzz. I really appreciate that. Love that sketch. And I also found, speaking of Buzz, this is Buzz's series, The Living Corpse, he co-created with Ken Hazer. And this is from their Xenoscope run. This is a tough book to track down in my experience. This is the variant to the Living Corpse Annual #1. And this is the variant sketch cover by the late, great Josh Metters. Really like his take on the Living Corpse. Happy to get my hands on that one cheap. Found this Hero Initiative Hero Comics from 2011 in the dollar bin. Not leaving Adam Hughes stuff in the dollar bin no matter what. Speaking of which, got another copy of Justice League of America 31 out of the dollar bin. And this is Adam Hughes' first published work for DC or Marvel. And he also did the interior art on this series. So that's a great, great run if you're an Adam Hughes fan. Found a great copy of Liberty Meadows #1 for $4. Really love this series by Frank Cho. Again, as I always say, I highly recommend it, but it's not for kids. Don't be fooled by this cover. It's a bit of an adult take on the newspaper strips of the 80s like Bloom County and Doonesbury. Really great stuff though. Found this copy of Wonder Woman Annual #1 in the dollar bin with this gorgeous George Perez cover. Here's a case of where waiting out the hype on a book pays off. This is Ranma 1/2 by Viz Comics, and in the 90s, this book was pretty hot, and I'm a big fan of a lot of Japanese anime, but this is one I like, but it's not amongst my favorites. So I remember in the 90s, this book was like $40, and I was not going to pay that for it. And it kind of slipped to the back of my mind until I found it, finally digging through discount bins at this small show, and I got it for $1, so because nobody cares about it anymore. So got Ranma 1/2, #1 and #2 for $1 a piece. And also found Now Comics The Terminator #1 for $1. Great copy. So, some more discount bin stuff. Already have this run completed, but Akira is my favorite Japanese manga, my favorite anime, and one of my favorite overall comic series of all time. I cannot recommend this series enough. So for $1, I grabbed another copy of Akira #22. Working on finishing off my Astonishing Tales run. I have the majority of it done. Found Kazar in Astonishing Tales #15. Believe this is a Gil Kane cover. Got that in the $2 bin. And also got Astonishing Tales featuring Kazar #16. So, big Kazar fan. Got one of the few Deadpool books I was missing. This Aaron Lopresti, Jim Steranko cover homage to Deadpool -1 or -1. Glad to get that finally. I already had #2 of this series. Just some really, really, really gorgeous art on this Eclipse Hobbit series. Excuse me. And I know Evan Leahy and Tom Ryan are also big fans of this series. Got these for $5 a piece. Near mint copies of Hobbit number 1, Hobbit number 2, and the Hobbit number 3. Oops. Sorry about that. These Mylars are slippery. Especially some of these were in 4mm already, so didn't have to pay for Mylars. Just gonna have to hold it up. But yeah, I got Masters of the Universe number 12, the quote-unquote Death of He-Man. Was missing that in 13, the last issue. Got another copy of New Mutants. Sorry, New Mutants number 1. Has a little bit of staining on it, but it's not bad at all, especially for a discount bin copy that's a newsstand edition. Was happy to find this in the $3 bin. I wanted to get another Punisher miniseries number 5 because I had gotten mine signed and graded by Mike Zeck. So I found this raw copy in the discount bin. It's actually signed by the guy who did the great airbrushing on Mike Zeck's covers and made them look even greater, Philip Zimmelman. And I have nothing signed by him, but now I do. So that was a great bonus. Found some Amazing Spider-Man, and I believe these were $2 or $3. Got Amazing Spider-Man 188. Punisher cameo and a Dave Cockrum cover. Amazing Spider-Man 198. And these aren't in bad shape either. Amazing Spider-Man 204. 228. And I got an upgrade to my Amazing Spider-Man 318. So now I have McFarlane's entire run in near mint. My shop actually gave me this for cover price. This is the recently recalled edition of Saga number 41. Got my hands on these Conan covers I was missing. I always see these issues a bit overpriced in my opinion, and they all, much like Transformers 80, they all kind of have this wave at the top. I mean, this will be a near mint copy after a press, but most of the copies I see have that wave across the top. Same with the final issue of Transformers, but nevertheless, I've been looking for this Todd McFarlane cover to Conan 241 for a long time, so happy to get that. And the following issue, 242, has a Jim Lee cover. Got a nice copy of that, and 249 with this Art Adams cover. So, getting much closer to finishing my Conan run. I now have every halfway significant issue knocked out. Got a nice copy of Marvel Feature with Red Sonja, issue number 1. Has a date stamp on it. Nice copy, and this was $5. This is probably, I want to say, like a fine minus copy of Hulk 271, but this was like $22. So maybe a fine on a good day, but felt the price was worth it, and I didn't own that book, so I bought it. Continuing to work on my Werewolf by Night run with these great Plug covers on them, excuse me. And I got number 3, and again, that's a series I'm getting far along on completing, and I have all the expensive issues knocked out, so it shouldn't be too much trouble. Got another Neil Adams Green Lantern that I needed. This is issue 78. Has some minor problems, but this was also half price at that sale, so I want to say this was like 12 or 15 bucks. I needed an upgrade to my Wolverine miniseries number 1 and 2, especially my number 1. It's the copy I bought off the rack as a kid, and it's not in that nice a shape because it's been read and well loved, as I like to say. But finally got a nice upgrade. I'd say this is probably a near mint minus copy, maybe a 9092, and they had a set of 1 through 4. 3 and 4 weren't that nice, but I didn't care because my 3 and 4 are already near mint, and I got this full set for 60 bucks. So I just bought them. There's number 1, number 2, also a very sharp copy. And as you can see, 3 has some spine ticks, still not terrible. And number 4 has quite a bit more wear on the spine, but grabbed that up, got my Wolverine upgrade out of the way. And at this shop sale, I did a lot of work on magazines. This didn't come from a sale. This came from a trade with a local dealer, who's a good friend of mine. Got this Thrilling Adventure Stories #2. Beautiful, beautiful copy. I looked this over. This is a near mint to near mint minus. And a lot of these bronze magazines are hard to find in that grade. Beautiful Neil Adams cover, and that's why I wanted this. So, made a nice trade for that. Found this, it's kind of rough, but at that sale, they had discount magazine boxes. So, got a really cheap copy of Savage Sword of Conan #2. It's a little rough, but a beautiful wraparound cover by one of my favorites, Earl Norham, and I did not have that issue. And also got Savage Sword #9, which I was also missing from my run. Found a pretty decent copy of Call and the Barbarian, #1. Richard Corbin Erie in the discount bin, not leaving those behind. What a stunning cover. I mean, God, this cover's great. The color palette that Richard Corbin used on this cover just blows me away every time I see it. I love his work. I think he's so underrated. Another Richard Corbin classic here on Erie 126. This was $1, I believe, $1 or $2. Elvira, Mistress of the Dark movie adaptation from Marvel. Worth the price alone for this Joe Jusko cover. Found a couple more Marvel graphic novels I needed. A nice copy of the Daredevil Black Widow graphic novel by Jim Starlin. Beautiful Joe Chiodo cover. That's a nice copy. This copy was kind of rough, but I think it was $2 and I didn't have it, so it's a nice placeholder. This is Spider-Man Fear Itself, and this might also be Chiodo on this. No, it's Jusko. Joe Jusko on that cover. So I'll have to get an upgrade at some point. This is not easy to find, in my opinion. This is the Jeremy Brood trade paperback from Fantagraphics by Richard Corbin. Was very happy to get my hands on that. Found some more ElfQuests in the discount bin. I already have #3, but I'm not leaving a first print behind for a couple bucks. Found ElfQuest magazine #17, #19, and #20. So slowly chipping away on that. And I reread the trade paperbacks recently, and boy do they hold up. What a great series. The story and the art is top notch. If you like that type of fantasy stuff and you've never read ElfQuest, do yourself a favor. Found some Vampirella mags in the discount bin. I'll always grab them because they're normally pretty expensive around here when I find them. But got Vampirella 76 with this great photo cover and #97. Was really happy to find these Weirdo magazines by Last Gasp, and they all have Robert Crumb covers. So was not leaving them behind. That's #6. You can tell by the border they're very much inspired by Mad and Cracked. Weirdo #9. Elf Squelch, making fun of ElfQuest. Elf Squelch, sorry. And Weirdo #23 with another Robert Crumb cover. And speaking of Robert Crumb, my big pickups this week. Got this from a local dealer in the next book. This is the Best of Bijou Funnies trade paperback, $4.95 cover price. This is actually the first edition from 1975. Never see those, so was happy to get my hands on that. The paper quality isn't that great, but what do you expect from a trade paperback from that period? But this was my big pickup of the week. Cannot believe I got my hands on a copy like this. I'm so stoked to finally own this book. This is Robert Crumb's Fritz the Cat #1. First printing from 1969. It is extremely difficult to find this book in high grade. It's hard to find in the first place, but being that they're nearly treasury size, they were mostly sold in like head shops and stuff back in the late 60s. Very hard to come by. Almost bought a kind of rough copy off eBay for $50, but I'm so glad I held out and found this copy for not too much more. Beautiful, beautiful copy. There's not much wrong with it, and just classic stuff. In my opinion, Robert Crumb is one of the greatest artists in the comic medium. He was kind of the first artist to cross over into the fine art world, if you will. Excuse me, a little tongue-tied today, but basically a lot of fine art collectors started noticing his work. He was the first comic artist that these art collectors, they saw his work in galleries, and they started paying big money for his work even in the 80s. And original Crumb art is astronomical in price. So I'd like to own a piece, but probably never will. But at least I got my hands on this gorgeous copy of Fritz the Cat #1. So everyone, thank you as always for stopping by. I always appreciate your time. Take care of yourselves and enjoy your comic books.